continue, as I said, on our discussion on Jesus the Redeemer, on our teaching on who is Jesus today. Let me read to you the main text that we used. Galatians chapter 3, verse 13. Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law by becoming a curse for us, because it is written, "Cursed is everyone who is hung on a tree." Now, some people, when you read a passage like this and you're talking about the curse of the law, immediately they're saying, well, that's just Old Testament because the law is in the Old Testament. Let me ask you this. When you say it's just Old Testament, isn't it that primarily we're thinking about the Israelites because the law was given to them, right? Right or wrong? Yes. Okay. Are you guys awake? Okay. So second question is this. If that is the case, when Paul said, Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law by being made a curse for us, as it is written, "Cursed is everyone that hangs on a tree." If the law was given to the Jews, question is this. Who was Paul addressing when he penned down those words? Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law. Who was he writing to? Galatians. It's the book of Galatians. Okay? Are the Galatians Jewish or not? That's not really a hard question, okay? Are the Galatians Jewish or not? They are not. So now Paul was writing to a non-Jewish congregation saying, Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law. Well, I thought the law was given to the Jews. But then he is writing to the Gentile church. Christ redeemed us from the curse. Why? Because the curse affects those who are knowledgeable and the ignorant. Okay? I was telling you that if the nation of Israel was faithful in spreading the word to their generation, then the whole world would have known the Ten Commandments. And I would assume that the Jewish practices will be practiced by other cultures. But the Jewish nation failed to execute, even at the height of Solomon's reign, when the rest of the world was coming to him. What Solomon did, instead of spreading the law, what he did was absorb the paganism of the world. And so he started building groves and altars of idol worship in the kingdom that he rules in. But then here it says, Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law. Why? If you look at the Ten Commandments, for example, Ten Commandments is not Jewish. It was written to the Jews, but look, there is one God. Is that Jewish? No, it's for everybody. Thou shalt not commit adultery. It's just only for the Jews. No, thou shalt not steal. That's for everybody. You see, the curse, therefore, of not following those things falls not only on the Jews, but also on the Gentiles. Now, you will notice also that when we were discussing redemption, we established that when Jesus died on the cross and saved us, it's the wholeness. It's holistic, body, soul, and spirit. And we already addressed partially that in the Old Testament, for example, when you talk about the blessings of God and obedience, it always includes healing, prosperity, wholeness. That's always there. And when you talk about the curse of the law, you are always talking about poverty, you're talking about sickness and disease, including infertility. These are the basic things that really sums up blessings and curses. And so if you will begin to analyze that, then you will say, well, it affects everybody. That's why Galatians 3 verse 13 was written not to the Hebrews, but to the Galatians, a Gentile church. Now, We were also talking about the fact that no matter what we do, we always, I mean, we were talking about fear, for example. Well, we still get afraid. And so I think if we expect perfection from us, that's not going to happen. I mean, if I say that after I get born again, I never experience fear or anxiety, then I will be lying. The fact that Paul wrote, do not be anxious for anything, means they were anxious. Because if they were not anxious, he would not be saying, do not be anxious for anything. If I will assume that all of us will be making the right decisions all the time, then I will be having a wrong assumption, because all of us here regularly or irregularly always make wrong decisions and wrong choices. Now, does God then expect that unless we are making 100% right decisions and choices, that we're not going to be blessed? Well, if that is the case, then nobody will be blessed. Okay? And so I started addressing that, and so I went to a passage from Proverbs. I think it's in Proverbs chapter 1. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 1 and pick up from there, from where we left off last Sunday night. Okay? Because we were using Job as an example, because in Job chapter 3, verse 25, let me read that to you again. It says, for the thing I feared has overtaken me, and what I dreaded has happened to me. Now, some translations, what I fear the most, I think it's the King James Version, what I fear the most has happened to me. Now, if you look at that statement, what I fear the most has happened to me. Let me ask you this. Don't raise your hands, because you may not want to raise your hands. Is there something that you fear? Now, does it mean then, if there is something that you fear, that it will happen to you? Because I will guarantee you, not everything that you fear happens to you. And there has to be some qualification of this verse. We have to understand it. Like when I first went to Regent, one of my fears was this: I am not going to finish. I mean, after the first tuition, I have no more money. You know, and I was only a tourist. I don't have my F1 status. I have all the disadvantages of somebody not finishing. So I have this anxiety. I have this fear. Maybe I will not finish. Oh, but I finished. So what I fear in failing, I fear not being able to study. It did not happen to me. Now I have to be objective about it and look at it and say, well, how come it didn't happen to me? And so you can ask yourself this question: how many fears did you have that did not happen to you? Now, there are fears that we have that happens to us. I was illustrating that my wife's dad, for example, he always wears this amulet, Catholic amulet. There's a in front and at the back, that little rectangle. And I think for luck or something. And whenever he goes and check in a hotel, he always insists on the first floor, because his fear was, if there's an emergency in the hotel, say there is a fire, if he is on the top floor, he may not be able to get down. He feared that. How did he die? By fire. What he feared happened to him. Okay? So we have to evaluate that. And I was I was telling you that the Hebrew word for fear here actually means feared disaster or simply disaster. The disaster I feared happened to me. Some people are afraid. I was fully expecting, because of where I grew up, that I will be dying in my 50s. Thank God I got born again. my father died in his 50s. A lot of elderly people in our place die in their 50s. So that is one of my anxiety. So I really plan to get married early if I'm going to get married, and then if I will not going to get married, I'll just live my life because in my 50s I'm going to die anyway. But it didn't happen to me. I beat the thing. I'm already 62, and I'm still alive and kicking, you know. So what I fear did not happen to me, okay? There is a possibility when I get married. What if, because my wife grew up in a well-to-do family, so I was asking myself, what if she can no longer bear it with me? What if she leaves me? You know. Well, she did not leave me. She tried to once, but I refused that fear to dominate me, and so it didn't happen. But that is one of the fears I have. Raising kids. You think I had no anxiety that my kids will fall into the wayside, or they'll be a drunkard or take drugs, and for the boys, start womanizing. Yeah. Those are some of the things that made me anxious, simply because of the kind of society or culture we are living in right now. Well, it did not happen, you know. But you will hear me say, there's a possibility that they can backslide. You see? Because those thoughts comes to me. Now, you say, well, Pastor, see, those thoughts doesn't ever come to me. Well, perhaps you are perfect, you know. But I am not. There are certain thoughts that comes to me. I am not inviting them. They just come to me. And you have to learn how to deal with these things because of what Paul said. So now, let's go to Proverbs chapter 1, verse 26. I'll come back to this again. I, in turn, will laugh at your calamity. I will mock. This is talking about wisdom. Proverbs chapter 1 is talking about wisdom. So, I, wisdom, in turn will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when terror, the Hebrew word is pakhad. That's where we get the word disaster, okay? It strikes you. When terror strikes you like a storm and your calamity comes like a whirlwind, when trouble and stress overcome you. Okay? And then in verse 33, but whoever listens to me, I will live securely and be undisturbed by the dread, or again, disaster, pakhad, fear, of danger. Okay? You see, the fear will come, if you fear the Lord, if you listen to wisdom, because the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Fear will come to you. But here in verse 33 it says, and be undisturbed by the dread of danger. Meaning it can come to you, but it will never terrorize you, or it will, you will stay calm. I was illustrating last night that these are like unwanted visitors that come to you. Now, I suppose all of you are grown enough to know sometimes you have unwanted visitors. When you have unwanted visitors in your life, in your house, you have a decision to make now. Are you going to welcome that unwanted visitor, let them sit, drink a cup of coffee, stay with you for hours, watch TV with you? Or are you going to stand there on the door when you open the door and the unwanted visitor shows his face? What are you going to do? Okay? Me, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, because we have this, how do you call this? The camera. If it's an unwanted visitor, I go upstairs. Why will I waste my time on this thing? And have one of my kids open the door and tell them, I'm not available. Or do something to drive them away. Yeah. Because unwanted visitor. But some of you are too polite, even if you don't know the person, or you know the person will bother you. What happened? Hello, come in. So you wasted your time the whole day, and then after the unwanted visitor leave, finally, You complain all over the place saying, oh, that guy took 5 hours of my life. Why did you let him? You see? Now, what I'm saying is, terror or fears can come upon you, and it's up to you whether you will treat that as an unwanted visitor. Because you cannot stop the devil for bringing temptations in your life. You have no control over what the devil wants to do with you. Okay? But you have control whether you will participate with him or not. Okay? So, let me read to you the bigger context of this in 1:27. Let's start with verse 27. When terror strikes you like a storm and your calamity comes like a whirlwind, when trouble and stress overcome you. I like this because it involves stress. How many of you here have been overcome by your stress? Don't answer me, okay? Then they will call me, but I won't answer, but they will search for me, but won't find me. Because they hated knowledge. Number one reason why wisdom, or what you can say why God will not pay attention when you call is, number one, you hated knowledge. Number two, you did not choose the fear of the Lord. Number three, you were not interested in my counsel. Number four, rejected all of my correction. That's in Proverbs. How do you invite God's disapproval or wisdom's disapproval? Because sometimes you call it, how come no answer? Well, because of the following things. Number one, you hated knowledge. When somebody is trying to teach you something, you refuse, you snarl, you bicker, you do everything, you complain, and you did not choose the fear of the Lord. And then you are not interested in counsel. You know, somebody is trying to teach you the right path, you are not interested. You know, when the work of a counselor in the New Testament or in the modern time is like the work of a seer in the Old Testament. When you go to a seer, you fully expect the word of the Lord, and what they say, you do. But some people are not interested. You go there because you were sent there. It's just like I was counseling a couple years ago. They were about to divorce, and they did. And the girl was in the error. She was very proud. And so I said, well, I'll counsel both of these together. The man was very cooperative. He was counseling. The girl shows up and say, oh, this counseling pastor says it's good. Go counsel him. I said, no, you are married couples. I need to counsel both of you. No, not me. I don't need it. You just counsel him. He's not interested in counsel. Yeah. And the Bible says when you hate counsel like that, when you hate the word of the Lord that's being given to you, when calamity comes to you, the word will laugh or wisdom will reject you. This is what will happen. They will eat the fruit of their way and be glutted with their own schemes, for the apostasy of the inexperienced will kill them, and the complacency of fools will destroy them. But whoever listens to me listens to wisdom. But whoever listens to me will live securely and be undisturbed by the dread of danger. Say undisturbed. Now it didn't say that dread will not come to you. But when dread visits you, you will be undisturbed. How do you react, by the way, when anxiety visits you? Say, you hear the news, oh my goodness, there's a new strand of COVID. How do you react to that? Does it put dread on you? Does it overcome you? During COVID, because I maintained fellowship in my house, and you know how I really don't like, I like fresh air, so in the house we don't wear masks. And we have visitors. My kids have visitors. Well, one day we have visitors for our kids, and the following day one of them called and was very courteous to say, well, just what, like, no, I tested positive this week for COVID. And I think my son who answered the call says, okay. And called my attention and say, hey, Papa, one of our guests the other day tested positive for COVID. I was doing something. I said, okay. And that's it. Didn't move a hair in our bodies. Yeah. But some people will say, wow, let's drink what? All kinds of vitamins. You panic. It really shakes you to the core like you're going to die. Now, that's not good. Because that means you are disturbed so bad. Now, I'm not saying you be careless. You have to do all that carefulness. But some people are just heavily disturbed. The Bible says the fear of when a person fears the Lord, when bad news comes, it will not move him. You see, there is this, what God wants is there should be certain kind of stability that rests in us. Because bad news will come in all directions. You have no control over that. They will always come. But you should have the strength, the fortitude. You know you can handle it. You know, all kinds of bad news, you know you can handle it. That is if you have faith. So, the word for undisturbed can also be translated place of rest. It doesn't matter if fears come on you, you will still be on your place of rest. Therefore, we can call this unrealized fears. I think it will be great if we can come to a place wherein all our fears will remain unrealized. I choose to say all our fears should remain unrealized because if Satan wants to tempt you with fear or attack you with fear, there's nothing yet you can do about it. Like if somebody wants to slander you, you cannot stop it. That's outside of your control. So if Satan wants to attack you with fear, you cannot control that. But let those fears that come upon you continue to be unrealized. Now, we can understand that concept of undisturbed undisturbed heart from Proverbs 133 or unrealized fears, as I said, when we begin to look at some of the disasters in the New Testament and modern examples. For example, on a personal note for all of us, how many of us feared something, even though we are following God? You fear something, and that fear did not happen. I mean, I think we can all identify with that. I'm afraid of this. It didn't happen. Okay? No, I'm not saying not everything don't happen, but something happened. As I was telling you at the region, that's why the temptations on me was left and right. If I was operating, if I let that fear to overtake me when I was offered to stay in Hawaii, I should have stayed there. But the word of the Lord that came to me is I have to go to region. I only have around $3,000, and I paid most of it for my first quarter of tuition. And mind you, I have no house to stay in. I can stay in a motel for around a week. After that, I have to leave when I still have money to go back to Hawaii or go somewhere else. But I have this. I landed in Hawaii, and I was talking with my wife. She was my fiancée then. I was supposed to have a job in Virginia Beach. Somebody promised a job for me. So it helps you get encouraged, you know. So I landed in Hawaii. I called my wife on the first instance that I can call her. And the problem with my wife is she doesn't have a poker face and she doesn't have a poker voice, if there's such a thing as a poker voice. If there's danger, the moment my wife talks, you know there's somebody saying, alam mo ba? Naku, patay. Wala pang balita, patay ka na kaagad, you know. You know, some people doesn't know how to break the news. So the moment my wife opens her lips, there is problem right away. She said, sweetheart. You know that tone. Wala man lang, hello, sweetheart. I said, what? The job that you're expecting will be yours in Virginia. She backed off. I said, what do you mean? There's no more job. Oh, I said, do you think I was very happy when she said, I was hoping if there is a job, at least I can eat, you know, and you have a fighting chance. Do you think I was in a fear came? Yeah. And then I called, and you know, the way the Lord brings encouragement, I begin to meet, just on the first week, I begin to meet people in Hawaii who are connected to the mainland in Virginia Beach. One of the pastors in Virginia Beach happened to be the in-law of one of the deacons whose church I held a seminar on. I mean, these are divine appointments. And I was preaching in their church, and he said, "Are you going to Regent, Pastor Jose?" I said, "Yes. I know somebody there at Regent. The biggest church there, I know one of the pastors. Let me put a call for you." And he put up a call without me asking, just, "Hey, we have a pastor here going to the mainland. Can you please assist?" And it turned out these are the same names that helped me. You see, fear came and encouragement comes. That's the Lord. When fear comes upon you, the Lord will bring in source of encouragement to help you go back to balance and be undisturbed, you know. But I called Regent, and Regent says, "We have not received all of your details, so we have not acted on your application." I said, "I'm going there." "Okay, good to see you. Good, we can talk here, but we have not received." And when I go there, man, that Eleanor, she said, "I can't accept you. You are already in Virginia Beach. I can't accept you. You have no house there. You have no place to. I can't accept you. You think anxiety did not set in my heart? Oh, it's there right away." But then I got encouraged right away. I remember I have money. I have around $3,000. Where did it come from? Well, I have been preaching, so that's the offering that I got, $3,000. So boldness, I master all the boldness I can get and say, "How much will it take for you to allow me to be in school this quarter?" "Around $3,000. I pulled out that cash in an envelope and said, "Here's $3,000. But after that, man, where am I going to get my money next? You know, one fear after the other. And I don't have experience that. I'm sure a lot of experience that. One fear after the other. After the fear, there comes some encouragement, and you are holding on, trying to find something that you can hold on to put balance. Otherwise, if you don't manage this well, fear will begin to dominate you. You know, those fears in my life, unrealized. I finished school. Not only did I finish school, I finished with $100 surplus. I would buy that Entenmann's raisin bread. Who's this? Who among you found that and you guys wants to buy it? I will buy one Entenmann's loaf bread. It's divided into 4. That will be my food for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. No, nothing for Friday. Why? Because Friday we have a Bible study. Filipino Bible study, you eat, you know. And then Saturday we have international church, mostly Filipinos. What happens when we have church? We eat. Come Sunday, it's the day of the Lord. What do you do at the day of the Lord? You eat, you know. So I only have those. You have these pieces, not a lot, but to help me stay balanced. But I'll tell you this, those fears were not realized. Did I fear? Yes. That's why when pastors keep saying, "Oh, if you have fear, you have no God," I really have difficulty identifying with a lot of this because I had fears. And so I have to dig deeper until you begin to find truths like this. And you begin to realize that's part of the spiritual warfare that we have. Fear is an attack. You need to learn how to deal with that. So, Paul had these fears, for example, in Galatians chapter 4, verse 11. Galatians 4, verse 11. Now, this is the Apostle Paul. Some people say that Paul did not fear. Well, let's read him. Galatians 4:11. "I am fearful." Say, "I am fearful." This is Paul. He said, "I am fearful for you that perhaps my labor for you has been wasted." So he was afraid that after teaching the Galatians, it will be in vain. Was it in vain? No, it wasn't in vain. Because at the end of Galatians, he expects better things from them. In Thessalonians, he expects better things from them. So he was afraid, for example, in this church, because of the so many garbage that took place here. My wife will attest to you, so many sleepless nights that I had. I'll tell my wife, are we going to be able to survive this? You know, those anxieties come. Did it materialize? No, we're still here. Not only are we still here, we are debt-free. Amen? I mean, when we first bought the building, I could not sleep anymore. No down payment. Now, you know, me, I don't know how to beg, so we need $37,500 for down payment. And that was a couple of months or 6 weeks before closing. You think the leaders that you have, the congregation that you have, who is so encouraging, Pastor Sel's building, do you think they gave? They have a hard time giving their tithes. How are they going to give? Money was not coming. Yeah. And whatever little fund I have, I already put in the escrow. And so I don't have the money. And so I think a couple of weeks before the closing, I could no longer sleep. Could no longer sleep. I was telling my wife, what if it didn't happen? And my wife was rebuking me. Yabang-yabang mo sa pulpito. God will provide. Patulugin mo ako. You know, so partially I understand Job, you know. When his wife says, curse God and die, I said, my goodness, sleep is more important to her than encouraging me. If she is sleepy, I mean, you can be sleepless. She will just sleep, you know. And and then that same Monday, somebody came to me and said, I am donating to you my car. It's a Toyota Camry. It's worth over $10,000, but I was very apprehensive. I sold it for $8,000. Immediately sold, you know. And the following Sunday, I said, because I have 2 Sundays, I said, we have $8,000. And the people clapped their hands. Oh, do you think they gave? No, they didn't. They just know how to clap. They did not give, yeah. But was I able to close the building? Yes. My fears were unrealized. You see what I'm saying? Oh, when we bought this church, the same thing. 100 discouraging things. Keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. We got this building. So I have anxieties, I have fears, unrealized, undisturbed. Now, I'm saying this not to normalize a fear. I'm saying this to present to you that fear is a temptation. It is an attack that you have to defeat. Are you listening? Amen. If you have wisdom, if you walk in the fear of the Lord, you can defeat that. Because sometimes when fear comes to us, we say, no, I'm not afraid. Oh, you are afraid. You are afraid. Like if sickness attacks you, are you feeling good? Of course you're not feeling good. But you attack it right away. I mean, if any of my kids get sick, they come to me right away. Oh, Papa, I don't feel good. Can you feel me? What do I do? They are into solutions. Let's get this thing out of my system. We understand it attacked you already. Let's get this out of our system. The same thing with fear, okay? 1 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 5. For this reason, when I could no longer stand it, I also sent him to find out about your faith, fearing that the tempter had tempted you and that our labor might be for nothing. Now look, Paul was so anxious about the Thessalonians, is the book of discipleship, that he sent somebody. He said, I'm sending him to you to find out for me, to be my eyes, what's happening. Why? Because he is hearing all kinds of bad news. He was hearing that the Thessalonians were backsliding because some of them was swayed to believe that Jesus already returned. And some of them left the church. You know, if you are a pastor like me and some people are leaving the church, it's very disturbing. Very disturbing. There's nothing happy about it. And so you begin to ask, what's going on? You know, very disturbing. So was Paul. But he was in jail. So he sent his his fellow worker and says, go there to Thessaloniki. Find out what's going on. Oh, but he was relieved, he said, because I found out that you're doing okay. You see? And I expect better things from you. He overcome that fear. Now, going back to Job. What do you think was the greatest fear of Job? What? His children's sin. Okay, what else? What do you think is his greatest fear? What did he lose anyways? He loses children. What else did he lose? Yeah, maybe wife, because the wife said, curse God and die, you know. Well, he didn't 100%, because physically she's still there, you know. Well, she has nowhere to go. She cannot run to her neighbor. The neighbor is 2 towns away, you know. So she stayed, but mentally she was broken already. That she said, curse God and die. So partially lose perhaps, you know. Who else? What else did he lose? Wealth. Some wealth, right? Did he think about losing wealth? Probably. What else did he lose? Properties. Some wealth and some properties, right? Get burned. But what do you think is his greatest fear? Of all of this? The death of his children. That's why I like him as a family man, the death of his children. He can lose everything but not his children. How did I know? When he was sacrificing after the get-together, now, were his children sinning? It doesn't say. It is like some of us, we say that the prodigal son, when he went to a faraway place, he wasted his money to prostitutes. That's our suspicion. It's not in the Bible. It didn't say he wasted his money on prostitutes. It says he wasted his money on previous lifestyle. Okay, whether he was a gambler or, it didn't say he was using prostitutes. Okay, but our culture sets in and you say, perhaps he was doing that. But it doesn't say that. Okay? But what we will find in the scriptures is every morning after the parties, and there is a disclaimer there, lest they did something that is not right in the eyes of the Lord. So he wasn't even sure. That's why he would offer sacrifice. Okay? Because he doesn't want any calamity to happen to his children. He didn't offer sacrifice for the safety of his servants or for the safety of his flocks or for his wealth, only for his children. That is his greatest fear. But what happened? Now he is righteous. What happened? They died. So now it comes as a shock. He said, what I dread the most has happened to me. He lost all his children. Okay? So we have to watch what God is going to do. So going back to that, in spite of that, after he heard that his children died, 5 of them, he clung to his faith. And this is an excellent attitude to have. Instead of walking back on his faith, he held on to God even more. You know, I think, I told you in Virginia Beach when I have received bad news, there are times I'll be so discouraged, I will not go to school, I'll go to the prayer room. I'll spend the whole day in prayer. I'll read my Bible there, I'll pray there, I'll fall asleep in the prayer room. But boy, I will spend one day, I'll be there at around 9 a.m., I'll be out by around 5 p.m. I'll just stay there. Yeah. Because I could not go anywhere. I'll just stay there and I will pray, I'll seek God. Job, because I've learned, Job cling to God. Now this is where you will be able to test where your faith is. The moment crisis comes to you and some of the things that you are fearing are nearing you or is happening, what do? Now some people give up on their faith. They did not cling to God. But Job did. And cling he did. Even tighter. He refused to move away from what he believed, even if he doesn't understand. He looked at God and said, God, please show up. I want to hear your voice. What is going on? I don't get it. I love you. I live righteously. I do everything. What's happening? And that is what most people fail to do. We look for excuses. We look for people to blame. We look to excuse ourselves. We want to justify ourselves. So what do we make of it then? Again, we're still looking at the words of Job in chapter 3, verse 25. For the thing that I feared has overtaken me, and what I dreaded has happened to me. When a person, okay, well, to put it this way, when you are so afraid of something, and you continue in that fear, what's the next thing that happens? For example, if this is fear, okay, and it dominates you, what happens next? Okay, well, maybe that's a bad illustration. Let's do it this way. Joel, stand up, okay? Say, for example, this is fear. What is this? You're almost as tall as me now, huh? Okay, so you can liken it to business, family, okay? Say it's your child, your problem child that you're afraid of, okay? So fear shows up. What happens now when this fear always shows up? What will happen? I begin to focus on him, right? And so he moves here. What do? I move here also. Right? He backs up here. Because I was observing him so much, back up also. What happened is, this fear begin to become a person to me. I begin to believe him. I begin to believe him. That whatever he does now, I follow. It's getting into me. You know, sit down, thank you. You know what is annoying? Is when you're trying to annoy somebody and they don't get annoyed. What is so satisfying is when you're trying to annoy somebody and they get annoyed. It creates such satisfaction. I mean, I will annoy my wife and my kids will see it and my wife will bite and my kids will tell me, Papa, stop. And I say, so I'm enjoying myself, you know. Because whatever I will say, my wife will react. I got her then. And I will just be laughing. But what is annoying is, if you are annoying somebody and they don't pay attention to you, they ignore you, then you are the one annoyed. What I'm saying, when you're so focused on what you fear, what happens is this. You begin to be afraid of your fears. And because you are afraid now of your fears, it moves you. In a positive spin, this is not the right word, but I lack the vocabulary, okay? What happens is you begin to believe in your fears. Now, what happens if you believe on something? I know what happens when you believe on something. Because it's alive, right? So when you believe on something, that something that you're believing in is alive. So what happens when you believe on something? You take action. Faith without works is dead. Now, fear dictates your action. Yeah. Look how afraid people are. Oh, in New York, truckers are going to be protesting. The following hour, shelves are empty. The fear is so real. Same in the Philippines. Typhoon is coming. Shelves are empty. That's why if you want to be rich in selling your commodities, if you have influence on the news, just let somebody say, big typhoon is coming. Shelves empty right away. Why? People are operating in fear. Fear becomes so believable, they act on it. How do you... Now, the moment you believe your fears, you will no longer fear God. Because now you are now being moved by your fear, not by the fear of the Lord. Therefore, when you are operating in fear, it paralyzes your faith. Your faith freezes. Yeah. My kids said to me one day, well, you know, Papa, in school it says that we can call 911. I'm telling you, that statement, 911, it freezes a lot of parents. They froze. They can no longer operate the faith. So whatever their kids tell them, they do. Yeah. Maybe some of you are like that, operating in fear. Whatever your kids tell you, you do. Your fear is now very believable. So my kids tells me, well, 911, Papa, let me dial it for you. You want me to dial it for you? By the way, you're going to have new parents. What happened to my fear? It became afraid of me. It backed off. It realized it cannot dominate me. Now you have a choice. So now, because the Hebrew word that was used was a pakad, it's a fear disaster that will not disturb you. What happened is when fear visited Job, all of these things, he sat down with all the boils and asked God, what's going on? His friends begin to dictate to him words. Oh, you sinned, you're guilty, this. No, I refuse that. I'm going to talk to God. Because the moment you're operating in fear, you will find that one of the first things that the devil will do is dissemination of false information. I mean, he will use the media. So now, the friends of Job, who were supposed to be friends, we are friends, Job. We are compadres. Oh, you did this. Those people even accuse him of abusing the poor, abusing the widow, abusing the orphans. It went that far, which is not even close to how good Job was, according to the words of the Lord. They begin to plant suggestions. You know what Job says? No, I did not abuse anybody. In fact, he said, when you were in needs, I was the one who helped you. I start you out with business. I did not turn my eyes away from a hungry orphan. I did not withdraw any help from a widow in need. He refused. And he said that. And then he turned, God, what's going on? I don't know what's going on. You see? That's the difference between a person who fears God and a person who fears their fears. What do you fear? Do you fear your fears or do you fear the Lord? So believing in what you fear is what will paralyze your faith. In fact, if we don't get it checked, it will end up killing us. To make a light illustration, let's talk about something else, but the same thought, okay? Debts and homework. All of us here, if not, well, maybe all of us, maybe some do not. All of us borrow, okay? Do you have credit cards? Therefore, you borrow. Is there something wrong with credit card? Because some people begin to say, credit card is evil. We are in a credit card society. That's how you transact business, okay? So it's not evil. It's the person using it, perhaps, is evil, but not the card, okay? How do you use your credit card? You are making $3,000 per month or $5,000 per month, okay? You look at your expenses that month, you pay your tithes, you have no more offering, everything else, and say, man, what I have left with all the expenses, I have $1,500 that I can spend. So that is your money. That this can be spent. From my $5,000 income, I can spend $1,500. You charge your card. You got so carried away, you charge your card. At the end of the month, when you counted the receipts, it was 3,800. I say, whoa, what happened there? You can only spend $1,500 at the end of the month. Listen to me, DJ. At the end of the month, it was it was $3,800. You were planning to only spend $1,500. At the end of the month, $3,800. What happened? Tell me what happened. Huh? You overspend. What's the other term for that? You let it go out of hand. You lost control. You felt magnet whenever you see. Eh, lalo pa ngayon, hindi na swipe, touch na lang. Yeah. It got out of hand. Homework, you have a very simple homework. 2 questions. You have 2 days to do it. You keep saying, I have many more days. I'm going to play now. I'm going to be on my video games. And then suddenly you woke up after playing video games. Oh, 1 hour before the class. What happened? It went out of hand. When something goes out of hand, what is the other definition from the scriptures? It overtook you. Now, instead of you controlling it, it controls you. You see that? It controls you. That is how we manage our lives. We let something get out of whack. So I keep saying this, the moment you have children, after they are born, start the discipline. Oh, they're very young, they're very cute. Those cute little things sometimes can be very evil. Yeah, and their defense mechanism is they look cute. The cuter they look, the worse it is. Yeah. You say, oh, this innocent little baby. Well, naughtiness, according to my Bible, is in the heart of every child. And only the rod of discipline will drive it out. Don't be wiser than God. Your child will, oh, I love you, love you, love you, I love you. Yeah, that's what happened to them. They go into drugs. They go into addiction. Because I love you, love you, love you, love you. What happened? You don't really love them. Because the Bible says if you love, you will discipline. If you don't discipline, oh, you let it get out of hand. You know? I like the story that Joseph shared that he reminded me, it really marked him because he was fighting with my wife, and I don't let things like that go out of hand. I'll encourage my wife to take her stand, but, you know, my wife is strong, but I think her weakness is her kids. Like a lot of parents, you know, I'm not going to say a lot of mothers, a lot of parents are like that. So they were fighting, and Joseph was raising his voice. During the time, I think it was 5th grade, and he was still strong in those days. So I grabbed him by the shoulders, lift him up, pin him against the wall, and I said, this woman was first my wife before she is your mother. When you answer her with disrespect like that, you are disrespecting my wife, not just your mom. And you answer to me. I'm telling you, Joseph literally shook. That's why his teeth needs braces. Yeah. They start hitting each other so bad. You know, it took years to repair that thing. But Joseph told me, oh, Papa, it marked me. And he told me this, he said, and I said to myself, one day when I get married and my kids disrespect my wife, I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Well, we're going to see if it will happen, you know, if we get the bones to do it. But you don't allow things to get out of hand. There are certain things you have to observe, but you don't let it get out of hand. Because if you micromanage everything, then you take away the freedom. My demarcation line is sin. If it's sin, I'm just going to walk you, you know. But that's the demarcation line. But you don't allow anything to get out of hand. That's why, my kids, they'll tell me, "Oh, Papa, wake me up in the morning. I don't want to be late." So, most of the time I will wake them up, but sometimes I know they're going to be late. My wife will tell, "Sweetheart, call them." I said, "No, they're going to be late." Let them be late. And then they'll come to my room, kiss me goodbye before going to school. "Papa, I'm going to be late." You know what I do? I laugh. And I say, "Congratulations! Maybe you have the best late student of the month." You think I will cry? No! Because I have been telling you, you're not listening. I'm just going to copy wisdom. One day you're going to have a need and I will laugh because you refuse counsel. You see? I take these attitudes from the scriptures. When you allow certain things to get out of hand. Now, did debts get out of hand in my life? Yes, because we're fixing the house. We didn't waste any of this money. But me and my wife, we fought that garbage so hard. Around 15 years on, right? 15 years before we finally defeat that debt thing. And now we're debt free. But we fought the thing. And now it's not out of hand. Every time we charge our credit card, at the end of the month, everything paid. End of the month, not out of hand. It's not overtaking us. Okay? This is what I'm saying. I think fear controls us because it just went out of hand. When are we going to learn our lesson? If somebody borrows money from you and they don't pay it, don't loan money anymore. If you take advantage of me once, you're a fool. If you take advantage of me twice, I am the fool. If you take advantage of me 3 times, I'm the worst of the fools. Because I already know you're going to take advantage of me. And then I'm going to smile? What are you, crazy? Don't let it get out of hand. The lesson is, do not fear your fears. Why? Fears are based on lies. The Bible says that faith is the substance of things hoped for. I can make an opposite statement. If faith is the substance of things hoped for, fear is the substance of the things you dread. The more you fear it, it gives substance to what you dread. You just, until, I told you about one of the supervisors that we have in the church in the Philippines. Her staff is so afraid of him. Because I will be the first every morning because my classes begin at 7 a.m. And so I'll be there by around 6. I'll be leaving the house around 5 a.m. There are times some of the interns and staff will be there by around 6:30, but I was already there. One time I saw these 2 big men, bigger than me, And they come so tired. I said, "Hey, why are you so early? Work starts at 8, and if you have a class, it starts at 7. Why are you so early? It's around 6 a.m. And they said, our supervisor wants us here early, and we don't want to be late. We are afraid, so we're here." I said, "What are you going to do?" We're going to finish up the work. So the way they finish up the work is they open something, and they both fell asleep. And I will pass by them, and I will laugh at them. "I thought you're going to be working." And they'll be laughing with me, having fun with me, because they just want to get the best. They just want to be ahead of their boss. The boss walked. We have wooden floor because it's a temporary shack. And the boss is heavy. So when a person is heavy walks with high heels, like that, the moment the first 2 steps hit the floor, these 2 big men just very afraid. And I look at them and they started laughing because I saw it. Fear just moved them. You see, what moves you? Is fear moving you? Or is the fear of the Lord moving you? Do not give fear any substance, first of all, by dwelling on them. Because if you keep dwelling on them, the more your fear will increase. Like if you dwell on the word of the Lord, your faith will increase. If you dwell on what you fear, your fears will increase. And it will be realized. But when you begin to concentrate on the word of the Lord, then you have something to drive fear out of, especially when you operate in love. That's how you operate this. And all of us here are being visited by fear, being visited by sickness. Look, some of you, you're operating in fear so much, you have been dwelling in these things before you get born again. Some of you are saying, well, my mom had breast cancer at the age of 50, and you're 18 years old. And your dad or somebody in the family told you, your mom, your grandmother, your aunt at the age of 50, they got breast cancer. So now before you get born again, you're 18, 15 years old, it's in there. And you begin to think about, you felt something in your breast. Oh, maybe this is breast cancer. You're 15 years old. Every little thing that you fear feeds your dread. Yeah. So what happened? By the time you're working, you're fully obsessed with that. Even if you are not feeling anything, you're doing all the things, and you just know at the age of, so now you're preparing your insurance. Make sure you have the best medical insurance that will take care of cancer treatment. Everything that you're doing now is moved by that fear. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? It possesses you now. There is no more room for you to operate in the fear of the Lord. Yeah. My wife will tell you this, when we were heavily in debt, she will be very upset because she was managing the money of their business back then. She will tell me, we need money. I said, relax. You're not making any more money. I said, I'm not giving. I said, Ann, why are you bothered with this? I told my wife, I promise you I'll take care of you. I told your dad, I'll take care of you. I will take care of you. And she'll be, I said, I'm telling you, we will pay this. Every time we manage things, but every time we need to pay the credit cards, most of the time we're paying them. Yeah. And I will keep telling them every bill payment. I told you I'll take care of this. She refused to get it until she finally gets it. I told her, you are trying to take on problems that is not yours. It is possessing you so much. Yeah. When Joseph talked to me years ago and says, Papa, engineering is hard. Because I keep telling that boy, Joseph, engineering is a 5-year degree. I said, you cannot possibly finish it in 4 years. I know you have AP classes here. If you have so much AP, maybe you can finish it in 4. But I said, in normal class, engineering is 5 years. There's just so much to study. But my wife finished economics. Well, what is economics anyways, you know? The math is not as bad as engineering math. And my wife finished economics, a 4-year course in UP, 3 years, right, Ann? And 3 years, 3 years. So Joseph, you know, young men are braggarts. They are full of air. There's just nothing in there, you know. And so Joseph said, I'm going to finish engineering in 3 years. I said, what? And then later I said, maybe 4 years. I said, Joseph, I said, hold on, you know, I know my kids. 5 years, Joseph, give yourself 5 years. Well, he started making bad grades until in tears he came to me and says, I'm changing course. And I even joke at him, what, accounting? Because in my school, if you are failing engineering, you switch to accounting. Again, the math is easy in accounting, you know, so you switch to accounting. So I was laughing at Joseph. Oh, you're an accountant. I am not sorry at all, okay? But I was looking at him, and he was, I'm changing my course. You know how I dealt with that? I put him back to faith. I said, Joseph, what did God tell you? Oh, you start with that. Well, I really believe God wants me to become a... Well, if God tells you that, then he will give you the ability to finish that. You see, you counter those fears with faith. You know, I did not tell him, oh, you're right, son. Let's change course. Because both of you are operating in fear. Fear plus fear equals fears. Fear squared. Ayos din kayo. Yeah. So what happened was I said, I'll help you. What can we do? And then he said, okay, I understand. But at the end of the conversation, I look at Joseph and say, hey, Joseph, by the way, remember our conversation before you went to school? I said, what? I told you I'm giving you 5 years to finish engineering. I said, you go over that. You're paying on your own. I said, I have other kids. That's why I warned you. I told you, watch out, because I have other kids that need to go to school. I am not going to sacrifice them because of you. I said, you better get this thing right. Now, after feeding him faith, I brought him back to reality again. I have other kids. So I deal with my kids. And so he shifted from the first gear to the 5th gear right away. Better get on with it. Finished. I said, how did you finish school? He said, YouTube University. You know? I said, I could not. He will scavenge for every information to pass his courses. Praise God. And now he's making it, you know. And by the way, he started flying airplane this week. He cannot land it yet. Oh, he landed? No, I thought he told me he cannot land it yet. So he can only, I told Joseph, you know who flies the airplane without planning how to land? The terrorist of 911, you know. I said, you're making me nervous here, boy. You know, but I look at that from those conversations. I can keep it in my mind and I say, wow, that's how God moves, you know. But you refuse to be dominated by fear. Now, let's move on. Let's recognize some of the traps, because the devil works in traps. In Peter it says, what did he say? The devil sets snares. What does it say? Anybody remember? What? No, what did Peter say? Yeah. Like the roaring lion. Yeah. Something like that, you know. It's like a roaring lion waiting for somebody that can devour, but actually waiting for somebody that can entrap. So, if you're not careful, if you let things get ahead of you, that will be a trap. Okay? If I see a problem with my kids, check it right away. Because if I let it get out of hand, it will be a trap. It will be too many. For example, if your child right now has a problem with attitudes, he or she answers back without regard of embarrassing you or what, I'll check it right away. I'll slap you right away. Yeah. Why? Because if I allow that to get out of hand, that will give birth to other bad attitudes. Well, if my mom is afraid of me, I'll try this. So now he added a vice. He added bad friends. And now because you did not control the first one, you cannot control the second one until it magnifies. It really goes out of hand. So what happens next? You're sending your child to a therapy. Now the problem is this, you're sending your child to a therapy. You know what it means? Money. You know what it means? You just excuse your child not to finish school. You see how it works? It becomes a trap. It becomes a web of problems. You let it go out of hand. You see, I'm telling you, I am convinced that a lot of these therapies are not needed. I mean, what is this? During the elementary days of my kids, if your kids can't finish exam, they have attention deficit disorder. So everybody, my child has ADD. You are claiming it now. My child is ADD. And now suddenly your child is autistic. Everybody is autistic. Everybody is all ADD. Oh, but they can play video games well. And we are buying into this. It's really getting out of whack, out of control. Yeah. So my kids begin to say, I'm feeling headache. Well, you're staying on bed too long. Work. And they'll drag them out of bed. Do the dishes. Because you have headache. I have no more headache. Yeah. You want to stay house? Clean the house. No, I'm okay. I'm going to school. I'm telling you, this healing, these medicines are very effective. And it costs you no money. And I have discovered it myself. I have not patented them, or anything like that, but no trademarks, business trademarks, but I have found a lot of solutions to some problems, and some people are putting their kids through therapy. And now I recognize some problems. One of my kids, I don't know who it was, speech, James, speech problem. Now, the reverse, he just talks too much now, Before he's got a speech problem, now he talks too much. Where's James? Oh, there. Yeah. Well, it's good for him to talk too much. He's going to be a lawyer, okay? So that's good. So let's go to the traps. Now let's look again at some of the facts that we know in the story of Job, and how Satan was able to attack him. What are some of the traps? Look at this. First is, let me read to you Job chapter 2, verse 3. Then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? No one else on earth is like him, a man of perfect integrity, who fears God and turns away from evil. He still retains his integrity, even though you incited me against him to destroy him for no good reason. Say no good reason. No good reason. Oh, this is a trap. Say no good reason. No good reason. One of the best traps that the enemy sets against us is inciting us against God or against anybody for no good reason. Have you ever been angry against somebody for no good reason? Pastor said, I don't like that member of the church. Why? Well, Pastor said, I always sit on this chair. I was just 1 minute late, and he was sitting on my chair. And so you hate the person for what? You want me to give you a chair? I'll buy you a chair. But because somebody is sitting on your chair, you're going to leave the church? For no good reason. You will find that a lot of our arguments and misunderstanding is for no good reason. It's just like that. In fact, you'll be shocked if I tell you that a lot of the divorce and all of these things are for no good reason. Family, well, it ended up becoming 3 families, left the church because somebody said they convinced themselves with a lie that I reported them to DCFS. I did not make any report. So they left the church according to them because I reported them to DCFS. I did not make any report. If something, I stopped reporting. I told somebody, don't make any report. Let's work on this. So you left for no good reason. And that is most of the time. Look at your husbands and wives. You're arguing about something for no good reason. I'll be watching television one day, and in the television show, there was this guy who found another woman, and he looked at his wife because the wife was very upset, and said, because you're fat, And I laughed because it's a comedy. I mean, it's a comedy, right? So I'm laughing, I'm enjoying myself. And my wife saw it and said, what are you laughing at, huh? So, what happened? I was watching a comedy show. Yeah, what is it all about? You're laughing because his wife got fat. What about me? And you're not on the TV. Yeah, but Let's talk about me now. What about me? I was just laughing at the comedy show. What's your problem? For no good reason. Yeah, no good reason. Friends separates for no good reason. Look, Satan failed in Job. He was inciting Job against God for no good reason. He tried to incite God against Job. Well, you blessed him. He's rich. He's powerful. Remove the wealth. Because God is bragging on Job. He's perfect, man of complete integrity. He fears God, shuns evil. God was bragging on Job. And so he's trying to... Have you done that? Has somebody talked to you like that? You enjoy something so much. Oh, I like this ice cream. Yeah, but you know who makes those ice cream? So what do you mean? Well, you like it. You know who. Now they plant evil in you. You know, I like Philippine hot dog. I don't know why. It's dirty, but I like Philippine hot dog. So I was in LaSalle. I was trying. I was studying Master's in Educational Administration in LaSalle, and my classmates were nuns from Laguna. They were the ones making the hot dogs. And so we were just having discussion, food, comfort food. So I say, hot dog. And this nun, it's really none of her business, you know, but she's a nun. She looked at me during the break and says, Jose, you like hot dogs so much? I said, yeah. We make those hot dogs. I said, really? I was excited. Maybe she will give me a discount, you know. She said, we make those hot dogs. And you know what, Jose? I will not even eat the hot dogs we make. You know how we make it? And I said, how? And she told me some of the things that happens in there. No wonder it's good. So she was just discouraging me from eating those hot dogs. But of course it didn't work. My faith is stronger. I still eat the hot dogs, you know. But some of us here are victims of that. We are being incited for no good reason. Yeah. Children against parents, parents against children, spouse against spouses, friends against friends. Because simply you look at him and he didn't look at me back. Where was this? We have a member. I don't know this member. But I greeted him. And he did not greet me back. I said, maybe he didn't see me. So I approached a little closer. I said, hi. The guy was just... So I approached a little closer. Hi. He didn't. So I went to my wife. I said, did I do something wrong? I said, why? She said, why? I was greeting her and she would not answer. And she started laughing. I said, why are you laughing? Even if you look at her eyes like this, she will not see you. I said, why? She's blind. I mean, she could not see. She's got a thick glass, but she's got all kinds of operation that needs to be done. And I think she was operated on. I said, don't think of anything, you see. Can you imagine if I did not ask my wife and I just went around saying she's upset with me? The girl could not see me. So if I get upset with her, for what? For no good reason. Okay? Well, I have no good reason to continue because I don't like Joffrey and Irene to be upset with me. It's their shower. We will rejoice with them. Amen? Did you learn something this morning? We will continue this night. I'll try to conclude this tonight, okay?